I hear them out there.
All right. I started wiping tables for a guy named Jimmy. He's dead now, and I don't know if it really matters if you use his name, but it's a cool name, Jimmy Gazella. I worked for Jimmy Gazella. I went down to the fair when I was about, I had went to the Ionia Free Fair in Michigan quite a few different times, and when I was growing up, 13, 14. Well, when I was 15, my mom was alcoholic. She was, I had abusive stepfather, just, really rough home life, abusive, not sexually, but physically abusive. I mean, he beat the shit out of me a lot for stupid reasons. So I was troubled. I didn't want to go to school. I skipped school. I smoked cigarettes. I refused to go to school, you know what I mean? And I would take the ass beatings, and I would, I was just really, anti-authority, you know what I mean? And I grew up really fast. I was a very mature 15-year-old, because I had to fend for myself. So I wanted to make some money, and somebody told me that they hire down at the carnival, some of the food joints and this and that will hire you. Well, I went down and talked to a guy named Jimmy Gazella, and Jimmy hired me to wipe tables. He had a sausage joint, and he hired me to wipe tables for him. And that's how I started my history with Jimmy Gazella. And his dad's name was also Jim. They called him the Bear. Jim was older Jim, owned everything, and his son helped him run it. They were real tough to work for. I went down there. Had to be there in the morning to peel and core 100 pounds of onions, slice them with peppers and buckets of onions every day. I would be crying from all these. I'm 15 years old, but Jimmy was real hard ass. In the carnival business, they call him a no shit guy. He was a real no shit guy. He didn't want to hear no fucking excuses. He was like, he'd always say, too much talk. Just fucking do what I tell you to do. He didn't want to hear, I was raised around, I was always alibying, well, how come this didn't go? Well, so-and-so, this and that. Just, I need sausage, I need this, I need that, get this, get that. Just do it. Just do what I tell you to do. And that's how he was, and he taught me a lot about work ethic. He was a hero of mine, and I looked up to him as a father figure. He's very, very, he was a gentleman. I say he was a no shit guy, but he wasn't really an asshole, but he wouldn't put up with no shit from nobody. And that's how I started with the carnival. And I actually took off with them and traveled to, and I only did like 4 or 5 spots with them, and then I went home. I say runaway, but my mom knew that I was leaving with the carnival, but I was 15 years old. She didn't give me permission. You know what I mean? So I was a runaway, but they weren't like looking for me. So I took off with them, and I did some spots with them and stuff, and then I did that every year. I'd go down there and wipe tables, and then when I turned, I think the next year I got to work inside the joint, and I just gradually, worked for him. And then when I was 17, I joined the Navy, so I was in the Navy for 4 years. Then I got out, and when I got out, about a year after I got out, I hooked back up with Jimmy, and at this time I was, a veteran, and all this had grown up. Jimmy took me back in, gave me a job. I went out on the road with him. As a grill man, and as a grill man is like next up in the chain of command. You're a grill man, you're running the front of the house, you're making all the food, you're taking money, whatever. So I started doing that, and I got good at being a grill man. Then the next year, the next season, I became 24-hour man, which means I drove, I set up, I tear down, I drive, I cook everything, I hire and fire spot help, I order stock. Basically a manager. So it's called 24-hour man because you do whatever the fuck needs to be done 24 hours a day. There ain't no fucking time off. If he wakes you up at 5 in the morning and says, go cook breakfast or do this or that, you do it. There's no, I'm off of work. Of course you get time off, but you're on call, So I did that for a while. And a couple of years, 2-3 years, I did that. And then come off the road and did other things. But now my experience this time coming back out with the carnival is actually, I haven't run games a lot. They call them games. You know, I'm not a ride guy. I'm not a food guy. I'm a gamey. They call them gamies. So now I'm running a game, which is a hustle. You know, it's just a hustle. You know, you got to get people to play your game, whatever. But I came back out on the road this year because I lost a lot of money playing poker. And I lost my place to live. I got evicted. You know, I lost my girl, pretty much. I was getting evicted from my house, and I called my brother, Jeremiah. And Jeremiah is with the carnival. And he got with the carnival, my little brother, because I was with the carnival, and he seen me growing up. He seen me work for the carnival, so he went out with the carnival. And he's been with them for 15 years. He's been out there for 15 years with the carnival. And he's 30. I think he just turned 31. Or he'll turn 31 in August. And I'm 39. So it's my little brother. So I called him up and I said, you know, hey man, I'm in a bad spot. I gotta, and this is back in March, April. In early April. Yeah, sometime in early April, I believe. And no, it was earlier than that. March. It was in March. So I called him and he said, yeah, man, I can hook you up with a hole, no problem. I'll send you a bus ticket. Then I couldn't get a hold of him, and it's like he'd answer his cell phone sometimes. And here I am trying to work out, what I'm going to do. I mean, I lost a bunch of money playing poker at a casino. I played poker all my life too, but I got on a bad run. I lost the rent. I lost everything. And I took more money and went back and tried to make another run and I got fucked. Bad run of cards, I mean, it happens. I was playing with money I shouldn't have been playing with, and I got busted. And so my life blew up. I was actually cooking at a restaurant for a year, because I cook, So I was cooking at a restaurant for a year. I lost my job, all this shit happened. So anyways, my brother got me back out on the road with the carnival. Well, I went out with this crew, and they're a bunch of fuckheads. They're the lowest of the low of the food chain. I mean, they're just horrible. So I go out and get this really horrible experience. I'm playing these dead ass spots that nobody wants to play, that don't have any money, and it was just. And my brother gets fired or gets DQ'd off the show, like 3 days or 4 days after I hook up. So he's gone. And he got another hole with, because everybody's not together on the carnival lot. You got independents and people that, some of them are with the show, other ones are independents. You don't know who's who, not everybody is with, this show or that show. Some of our independents that are just running and they pay rent, whatever. So he got another job with another independent in a game. And I say that because then I stayed with this other crew, because at that time I didn't know that it was the shittiest of the shitty. And continued to take it in the ass for, everything. I mean, they would charge me, all this, weird, 70. They kept jumping from show to show, and every show that we went to, I get dinged for a $35 ID and a $45 ID, a $35 shirt for 1 week, and then I don't make shit, and I end up leaving in the hole. You know what I mean? They'll give you $10, $15 a day to live on. So it sucked. So, but I learned a lot about the hustle of the games. You know what I mean? I learned how to work the games and make money. Let me put it that way. So, I did that for a while. I stayed with this crew. Then my girlfriend, which we were living together when I got evicted, she had to move in with her sister. It was a big mess. We were gonna break up. She fucking hated me. She loved me. She fucking hated me. She loved me. She decides that she's gonna come out on the road with me. So she comes out. And then that was all right for a little while, but then we weren't making any money, so she's on my ass all the time. This carnival shit, it's not, worth it, blah, blah, blah. But it's early season. There's not a lot of money out there early season. And she didn't understand that. So here we are eking it out for months, or she was out for almost 2 months. And the live spots are coming. Fair season's coming. We're going to start making money. You don't want to sit out there and play all these dead spots. And then she wanted me to quit. She wanted to quit, And I really didn't have anything to go back to. She could go back to her sister's house. I don't have family that'll take me there. I don't. Well, my dad will in Florida, but I don't want to live there. I love my dad, but, I'm just saying. So I don't really have anywhere to go. So I'm staying, So she leaves. We end up fighting and arguing. She ends up leaving. She drags up and takes off and goes back up to Michigan. Well, things were heating up with this this crew, and I'd had a couple altercations, and I fight. You know, I'll fight somebody. You know what I mean? And sometimes I like to fight. I mean, I ain't gonna say that I don't like to fight, but I don't take no shit from nobody. You're gonna call me some fucking names or whatever, I'm gonna call you out, and then we're gonna fucking go at it. You know what I mean? And I had a couple altercations with some guys out on the road. Nothing that really got too physical, but, you know, I intimidated some people and whatever, and people thought that I had this air that I was kind of a badass or whatever. So, we were all sitting next to the bunkhouses. This is how it come to a head. We were in Kentucky, podunk ass fucking town in Kentucky, not making any fucking money. My old lady's fucking taking off. After she takes off, everybody tells me how she was trying to fuck everybody, and you know, I got all this fucking stress on me. I'm $200 in the hole. You know, I like to smoke weed. You know, I smoke weed, so I'm like, you know, I don't smoke all the time, but I like to smoke a little weed. So I'm sitting there, and this guy Rob, who's boyfriend of the owner, and he used to be a gamey, and he ended up fucking the boss, and now he's the boss or whatever, and he's a real fucking jagoff. Anyways, I try to stay away from him. I try to fucking just, you know, not have any problems there. I'm trying to make money. I don't want to cause any problems. Well, he was sitting there smoking a blunt, and he would never pass it to me because he was real stingy, and he wouldn't, you know, he's just like that, you know, and he's smoking a blunt, and I was just sitting there, and it was before work call and shit, and I got up and walked off, you know, because not mad or anything. I was just like, I'm not going to sit here and watch him smoke a blunt when I want to smoke one, and I ain't going to fucking sit here. So I got up and walked off. Well, I come walking back about 10 minutes later, 5 minutes later, something like that, and he wasn't sitting there anymore. And there was 3 other heads sitting there smoking on a blunt. And I was like, all right, I sat down, and I was like, hey, let me hit. I said, he goes, it's Rob. I thought he left it there for everybody to smoke, because sometimes he would with people. So I was like, hey, let me hit that. So I take 2 puffs off it. I didn't even chief on it. I took like a couple puffs and passed it. Somebody else walked up. Can I hit it? And blah, blah. So anyways, the blunt got smoked down to nothing. Well, Rob, he's just a fucking asshole. He come back over there and finds his blunt this big, you know, and he fucking loses it. He starts screaming and yelling, calling everybody fucking names. He's storming around. He storms around the side of the trailer, and he says something about that he's going to take $5 out of every one of you motherfuckers' draws and blah, blah, blah. And he pushed people around, but he really never talked to me that way. Well, I didn't say anything, and I was just sitting there, and he come around the corner in this little alley between the 2 house trailer things. He comes around the corner, and he says, and you fucking pussy motherfucker, or whatever he called me. And I looked behind me, and I looked at him. I said, are you fucking talking to me? And he goes, yeah, I'm fucking talking to you, you fucking Navy. You think you're a fucking badass or whatever. So I didn't say anything. I just stood up. I stood up, and I started walking towards him. I said, you ain't gonna fucking talk to me like that. I said, there ain't no reason. I said, I took 1 puff off your precious little fucking blunt. I said, you can shove it up your fucking ass. I said, you know what? You ain't gonna fucking talk to me like that. And I started walking towards him, not like storming. I was like, you ain't gonna fucking talk to me like that. So he storms around the corner, and I follow him around there. And he says, you can kick rocks, motherfucker, you know, blah, blah, blah. Basically telling me I'm fired or whatever. Well, this other woman was standing there, the boss. She says, no, you know, because I was a good worker in the joint and everything else. And this guy was just running people off left and right. So he says, you can kick rocks. And I said, I will fucking kick rocks. I don't give a shit. I said, you guys have done nothing but fuck me over anyway. I said, I'll leave. I ain't got a problem with that. And he goes, oh, well, and Chris says, no, Robbie, you know, stop. And then he starts calling me names again. And I said, he looked at me, he called me every name in the book, pussy, motherfucking shit, whatever. And he was standing probably 15 feet away from me. And he pointed his finger and said, you got a fucking problem with that? And I said, yeah, I do have a fucking problem with that. And I started walking towards him. So he grabs a 2x4 out of a joint, you know, a stick, you know, 2x4 probably about 3 feet long, and he starts walking towards me with it. And I said, take your fucking best swing, as I'm walking towards him. While his mom was with him, you know, his mom was out on the road with us too. She jumps up and grabs him, and I'm yelling, fucking let him go. I was like, you take your best swing, motherfucker, because you're only gonna get one. And they wouldn't let him go, and then Chris is screaming, Nick, you know, go, leave, just leave. So I'm like, fuck this. So I walked away. Then Krista comes and tries to smooth it over with me. she's like, listen, Nick, you know, Rob's got this and that on his mind, blah, blah, blah. You know, she's trying to cover up for him, you know. And I told, she's like, she wanted me to stay. And I'm like, I don't know. I said, I don't like this fucking guy. I said, you know, if I do stay, he better just stay right the fuck out of my face. Well, I went back and talked to some other people and decided to leave. While I'm in Podunk, I got $15 in my pocket. I pulled up, I packed all my shit, and I was pretty upset about it because I was just, you know, here I am going back out, you know, and I'm packing my shit in my Navy Sea bag, my old 20-year-old Navy Sea bag. Okay, now I had accumulated some stuff on the road, okay, and I had come out with more stuff because I came on a Greyhound. I had a couple bags. I had to do the old need it, don't need it, because I had to get down to carrying weight. Now, I was in the Navy, and I did rucks with packs, or I did hikes with packs, and I know how big of a ruck I can carry how far. So I had to get down to like 50 pounds or less. So I had a fire auction outside of the bunkhouse. I was like, auction! Called everybody over there. I'm like, styling gel, 50 cents. I swear to God, I did this. Styling gel, 50 cents. I'll take that, 50 cents. Used throwaway Motorola phone, $5. Do I hear $5? And I sold a bunch of my shit, you know, a fishing pole, this and that I had. Made up about a double, you know, like 20 bucks or something. And I left with that. That's how, I didn't have any money in my pocket. I think I had 20 bucks, and I stopped and got a pack of cigarettes. When I was walking with my pack, I had like 15 bucks in my pocket. I'm going to try to get a hold of my brother because he got plugged in with this show that I'm with now. And but my old lady, when she left, took my cell phone, the one I have now, because it's in her name. So she took it with her. So I had no cell phone either. So I thought there was a bus station right there in the town that we were at, Central City, Kentucky, or something like that. And I asked a town mark, which is somebody that's from the town. I was like, is there a bus station here in town? And they're like, oh, no, there's no Greyhound station. That's Madisonville. I was like, how far is Madisonville? And they're like, oh, I don't know, 20 miles or something like that. So I'm not turning around and going back. I'm not. So I figure I'll hitchhike. Well, this is at 6 o'clock at night. So I start walking. And by the time I get any distance from there, I asked somebody directions. I got directions on how to go, and I asked him, is there stores on the way and whatever. So I stopped at a convenience store and got some Gatorade and some Vienna sausages and, you know, a few things, you know, to eat, you know, and I spent a little bit more money. And then I started walking. And the route that this guy sent me on was country roads. I mean, with no shoulder. I mean, it was like swamp and ditch and nothing, no houses at all. And I started walking, and I walked like 30 miles, you know. But I walked like 30 miles, so it ended up being 30 miles. I walked throughout the night. I started walking, and of course, late at night, nobody's gonna pick me up. You know, a guy on a deserted road somewhere, carrying a sea bag, you know, they're not gonna stop and pick you up. I don't care who it is. So I couldn't get a ride, and I only seen like 3 or 4 cars every 10 miles. So, you know, it wasn't like there was an expressway. I mean, I'm talking in the middle of fucking nowhere. So I just kept walking, man. And then that freaking 50-pound ruck, man, was cutting into my shoulders. I was putting my hands underneath the straps. I was doing everything I could I had to get to where I'm going. So I don't know, I didn't have a watch or anything, so I didn't really know what time it was. So I got tired, and I'd walk for a long ways and not see anything, okay? Nowhere to really even crash for a few hours. I come up on this church. I could see lights, you know what I mean? I'd been walking probably about 15 miles, and I seen lights, and it was a church. And a big church, you know, a Baptist church or something like that. And there was a part, you know, where the preacher stays. His house was over here. And I just walked up through there, and they had basketball courts, and then they had some picnic tables in the back. And I just went back there, laid my sea bag down, got out my Vienna sausages and my Gatorade, and had me a little picnic sitting there, and had my Vienna sausages and crackers, and drank my Gatorade, and you know, just really thinking about what the fuck am I doing here? What am I doing, you know? And I slept for, you know, I had an old horse blanket in my bag, and you know, like it's like, I call it a horse blanket. It looks like, you know, anyhow, I laid that down, and I slept for a couple hours. Mosquitoes kept fucking eating me up. I get up. I want to leave before, I woke up and I didn't know how long I'd been sleeping, but I wanted to leave before daylight because I didn't want somebody, you know, I didn't want the cops to show up. Not that I'm wanted or anything, but I just didn't want no hassles. So when I woke up, I just started walking again. So I walked all the way and I probably had another. They told me it was 20-something miles. It ended up being closer to 30 when I found out, from somebody that was like, that's not 20 miles, that's 30 miles. And so I walked the rest of the 15 miles it was probably, the way I figured it was probably like 4 in the morning when I woke up. And I just started walking, and I ended up getting to Madisonville, never got a ride. First place, I had never seen a convenience store for like 15 miles. There was no stores, no nothing, and I had drank all my Gatorade. I was dying of thirst. It was hot, starting to get hot. I walked to the first convenience store. I was just coming into Madisonville, which Madisonville is kind of a bigger city in Kentucky. And I went to a first gas station I found. So I walk in there and I get myself something to drink and go outside, and I'm sitting on my sea bag. And I asked the first guy, I just walked 30 miles with a 50-pound ruck. I'm freaking tired. I'm just emotionally, I have no idea. I can't even get a hold of my brother or nothing because I got no phone. So my plan was to buy a phone card and use a payphone. So this guy comes out of the store, and I said, "Excuse me, sir, do you know where the Greyhound station is?" And I'm praying to myself that he says it's like 2 blocks up the road. No. He says, "Oh, the Greyhound station, that's way on the other side of town," he says. You go down here, and if you could get on the expressway, but you can't walk on the expressway, so on the 4-lane, he said. So you have to go all the way down here. And I was like, about how far is he? He's like, I don't know, probably about 7 miles. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way I'm carrying this pack another 7 miles, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm going to hustle outside the store. Everybody that comes out of the store, I'm not going to ask them for a ride. I'm going to ask everybody, where's the Greyhound station? Okay, it's a hustle. You don't come right out and say, I need a ride, because it's easy for them to brush you off. You got to be like, excuse me, do you know where the Greyhound station is? And then after they go through the trouble of telling you where it is, then you say, you wouldn't happen to be going there, would you? First guy that walks out of the store, older guy driving a newer Dodge truck, walks out of the store, and I said, excuse me, sir, do you know where the Greyhound station is? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. He tells me, I said, you wouldn't happen to be going that way, would you? And he said, no, I'm not, but I'll give you a ride. I said, sir, thank you. And he, no problem. So I jumped in the truck with this guy. He was in mining. It's big coal mining there. And we shooting the breeze, and I'm telling him a little bit about my situation. And I'm letting him talk to about, he was a electrician for coal mining equipment and blah, 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 all his life. And we get to the Greyhound station, which was outside of the Red Cardinal Inn, which is like a little piece of shit hotel that they rent, like weekly rooms and whatever, shady as hell, like $25 a night or $30 a night. So they had a Greyhound substation in there. So I get there, and now I still don't have a phone card. I still haven't got a hold of my brother, nothing. So when I'm getting out of the truck, the guy says to me, he says, well, son, do you have enough for your ticket? And I said, no, sir, I don't. I have like $15 to my name, And he reaches for his wallet. And I'm standing there, and he reaches his wallet and flips a yard note out onto the seat, a $100 bill. And he says, get yourself something to eat, son. Get yourself straightened out. I said, thank you, sir. I said, you are a very nice man. And I was like, you don't know how much this is helping me out. So he gave me $100. So I take the 100, now I got 115. So first thing I want to do, I've been walking all night, is get a room, get a shower, figure out what I'm doing. So I went ahead and got a room, went in. Now town was another 2 miles. Any place to go was 2 miles from this hotel because it was kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So I had to walk another 2 miles, but I didn't have my pack. I put my pack in the place, and I walked down and bought myself a throwaway Verizon phone, a prepaid phone, and bought myself something to eat. And then, of course, I got the room, so that pretty much shot that $100 down. And then, so I still didn't have money for the ticket. So I'm talking to so now I'm calling my brother. I get a hold of him. Maybe I can help you. Maybe I can. I think I can, blah, blah, blah. He's giving me the runaround. And I'm like, dude, I'm coming to Virginia Beach no matter what. He's going to be here in Virginia Beach for 4 weeks. That was almost 2.5 weeks ago. So I said, I'm coming no matter what. I'll try to find my own hole when I get there, but I got no place else to go, so I might as well come to where the carnival is. So now that night, I had a little bit of money left over. I went and got me some beers. And this guy walks by my room, and I start talking to him, and I find out that he used to run with Carnival. So we start shooting the breeze. I said, come on in my room, man. Let's drink a beer, And he's got a 12-pack in his hands. He's an older guy. His name was Roy. I remember his name. And he comes in, he starts talking to me, and he's telling me that he hustles a will work for food sign. I was like, really? And I'd never heard of the hustle. I've seen him, but I never heard of the hustle. It's a hustle. He goes from town to town to town doing this. And he makes killer money doing it. But he's an old drunk. I mean, they drink. I mean, he's just drunker than hell. It's not like it's a glamorous lifestyle. But they travel around to all these towns and they hold a will work for food sign. Well, of course, I try to figure out the whole hustle. I'm asking questions, you know what I mean? And he's willing to tell me. Now, a lot of hustlers won't tell you their hustle because then you're competition. They want it, or they want you to pay you. They want you to pay them to tell them. They won't teach you for free. So, I'm asking him cautiously about how this, what do you do? I said, don't people like pull up and want to take you to work? He's like, listen, when they pull up and ask you to and say, come on, get in the truck, I'll take you to work. You want to work for food, because you get assholes like that, you know what I mean? Make you work in the garden all day and give you a bologna sandwich. And he says that's happened to him. He's worked for 8 hours for a guy, and the guy gave him a bologna sandwich with no mayonnaise, no, whatever. There you go. You worked for food, But anyways, he said most time people won't ask you to work. But if they do, you just tell them, this lady just gave me $10, but she didn't want me to ride with her because she don't know me and I'm homeless. So she went to get her husband, and her and her husband are coming back to pick me up. But I've heard that before. Okay, now that I've heard that before, that just covers you just in case you're still sitting there an hour later and they come back, oh, that lady never showed up or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But, that's how you get out of work. So you don't have to work. You're always gonna alibi it and you're not gonna go to work. So he told me a little bit about that. So now I know how to get out of the work part of it. So, and he's like, you'll get lots of food. He said, a lot of people will bring you food. You'll get shitload of food. But a lot of people will give you money. You got to hustle them when they bring the food. You got to tell a little bit about your story and blah, blah, blah. So, and he actually gave me his sign. He went down to his room. They were leaving town the next day. I shit you not. It was a sign, whiteboard sign, poster board, and it had flips. And he showed me, it said, we'll work for food on both sides. And you got to hold it so that they can see it coming both ways. And you got to sit somewhere where there's a place they can pull in easy, where he told me the spot to sit. He said it's by an old abandoned car wash is right next door to this place. Sit by the Walgreens. There's an abandoned car wash right beside it. Easy for people to pull into and give you shit. So now I said, don't the cops hassle you? He said, yes, the cops will be on you right away. You're not wanted, are you? I said, no. He said, they'll just run your name. They can't do anything to you because you're not panhandling. You're saying that you will work for food. You're homeless and you will work for food. There's no law against that. There is no law. Now, if I had a sign that said, please give me some money, that's panhandling. That's against law. So the cops show up. Of course, I was there for a half hour. And he said, don't give up right away because they'll come. He goes, people will drive by and see you, and then they'll come back. They'll go eat their lunch, and they'll grab you lunch, or they'll come back. So don't give up. You got to sit out there for a little while. So I'm there about 15 minutes. I decide I'm going to do this hustle. So I go down, because I'm stuck. Like Chuck, I got to figure out something to get. And the funny part is on the sign, like if you flipped it, it was a piece folded, and there was like 4 different, and he had the names of towns close around there. So when he's leaving, he goes up by the exit, and it says Pottersville on the sign, and he gets a ride to Pottersville. And then he goes to Pottersville, and he flips back over to Will Work for Food, and there he is in a different spot, working different marks. So I go down there, and I'm sitting there 20 minutes, the cops show up. And the cop was cool. He come up, and the other thing is you got to, sit there looking pitiful. So he, I'm sitting there looking pitiful. The cop comes up. I'm like, I'm homeless, man. I'm homeless. What you doing, son? I was like, I'm homeless, man. I'm just trying to get some work, and blah, blah, blah. And he takes my ID, runs it, comes back, and as I'm standing there, he's telling me about the Salvation Army and different resources in the community that might be able to help me out, blah, blah, blah. They start pouring in. I've been down there maybe a half hour now. Now I'm not even sitting out there with the sign, okay? I'm over by the cop car holding the sign beside my... 4 cars pulled in. McDonald's, Subway. Lady handed me a Subway sandwich and a $15 Subway gift card. Another guy handed me McDonald's and a $5 bill. And more food and a little bit more money. And, they were asking the cop, can I give they're coming up like 4, they're standing in line to give me food. So, and I was hungry. I didn't really have anything to eat. So, I took the food and I'm putting it over here. And then a couple other people come up and I got around $50. And so they told me to go down to St. Jude DePaul or some Catholic church that they might buy me a bus ticket. So on my way down there, I'm walking, and I'm holding a sign beside my leg, you know, and I see these two ladies, and I wasn't even trying to hustle them. I walked up, and they were walking out of the office. I was actually lost, and I asked the two ladies, and they were pretty ladies. I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, do you know where the Catholic church thing is?" And she was like, "It's back this way." I said, "I'm going the wrong way." She goes, "Well, we're going that way. Walk with us." "Thank you, ma'am." So I start walking with her, and they notice my sign. They say something. I said, "I'm homeless, and I'm stuck here. I end up losing my job with the carnival, or some things were going on there." And I talked it up a little bit. I added my own little, my hustle. And I said, "I'm just trying to get to Virginia Beach because my brother's there, and he's got some money now." I didn't tell her I was going to join the carnival. I just said it was true. My brother's in Virginia Beach, and I said, "I'll be all right if I could just get to Virginia Beach. I sure hope these people can help me." And she says, "How much is a ticket to Virginia Beach?" And I went, ding. I went, $159. I said, "But I sure hope these people can help." She goes, "You know what?" She said, "If you go over there, and if they can't help you, that lawyer's office that white building," she said, "You come back here and I'll help you." I said, "All right." So I went over there and legitimately went in there and asked them, if they could. No funds. No funds available right now. So I walked back out, and of course I didn't walk right up to the door. There wasn't a lot of windows in the front. So I just walked by, and just kind of stand out there by the corner of the parking lot. And I was only there for 30 seconds, and she comes out the door. And I went over and I said, "They can't help me. They don't have any funds, for that or nothing." And she's like, "Wait right here." She goes back in the office. She comes back out and hands me two $100 bills. And I was like, "Ma'am, thank you so much." And then she gave me a hug, and she was just like, I was just like, "God bless you." And she's like, "God bless you too," and she's like, "You just get yourself straight," And I took the $100 bills, went back to the hotel, and the rest is history. I made it to Virginia Beach, got plugged into a hole here, and I'm working the beer bust, with the carnival, and I'm making good money now. I'm back. I'm with some good people, and I'm safe. And these people are like night and day compared to the people that I was working for. They're a little older. They're more experienced. They're good people, and I'm with a family with the show. The show is really a family. Everybody out there, and they're just like family. They fight sometimes, but people look out for you out on the road when you're with the carnival. And that's something that hasn't changed from where I was before. It's like a little town, a little traveling town. And carnies take care of their own. You know what I mean? They'll fight amongst themselves, but they take care of their own. So there it is. I'm with the carnival now.